Yeah, hi. Hello. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Rahul Bam. I run a mental hospital in Pune. So, I was asked by Autism Connect to speak on this topic of stigma. Um, so, stigma in autism and mental health. I've been in this field for 15 years now, in the field of mental health. And there is a sad to say there's still lots of stigma attached to any kind of mental health concern, autism. There's, like I said, it's sad to say that we still suffer from lots of things due to stigma attached to it. But to understand that stigma, that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about understanding the stigma. So, although Autism Connect has a lot to do with autism, and it comes under the huge umbrella of mental health. I'm not an expert in autism. I know about autism, but I'm not an expert. But I can talk about the stigma because I do face a lot of this every day, and I'll briefly we'll go through what is this stigma. Okay, so first let us define stigma. So if you go by the dictionary meaning of stigma, so stigma is a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. A mark of disgrace. So now you can see why the word stigma is so stigmatic. What the word stigma says actually is that it's a disgrace. Like if we connect it to autism, being autistic is a disgrace, going by the dictionary meaning. And the dictionary meaning is quite apt actually for the kind of stigma that we deal with, because there is not so much openness as far as mental health issues. If someone has an autistic child, even if they're low on the spectrum, it's very difficult for people to accept that that this is what is happening, and doing something about it comes much later. But first, to accept that there is a problem, and here this is where understanding stigma, is very necessary on the whole. So if stigma is a disgrace associated with a person or a quality, so what does that mean? It basically points towards someone's fault, disgrace. Like if someone does something wrong, or like does something which is unlawful or not nice, so it's like a disgrace. In the same way, the same mentality goes towards mental disease in India. Yes, it does to a great extent. Yes, people are not open about it because it is stigmatic. And stigma means, it means that the someone is at fault. So it may be, when you're looking at a autistic person, especially uh, uh, when you think about a family with someone suffering from a mental disease. Okay, why doesn't a family, why aren't they quick to accept and do something about it? It is this stigma that prevents it. It is this stigma that prevents early intervention. In cases of addiction, in cases of autism, it's always when you find the problem, like how soon the problem is found and started to be worked on. That makes a lot of difference. It makes a huge difference when the intervention happens and when the cure starts happening. There's no cure, obviously, but when the work starts happening, when therapy starts, that's very important. And in lots of cases, therapy starts very late, and it is because of stigma. So, what is the kind of stigma? I mean, are we saying that someone who's born with autism, or if someone develops a mental disorder, that they are at fault? There's something wrong with them? I mean, yeah, if you go by modern psychology, it's a disorder. Okay, so it's drifting away from the norm. It's not normal. Yeah, being autistic is not normal, or having schizophrenia is not normal. And this is the general view. And why it is like this? Because we have a social ideal about what humans are, how they are, what they do, how they live, how they interact, all these things. There's a lot of expectations. There's a very big component of should. Humans are like this or should be like this, and socially anything short of that is, it's a you're coming up short. It's not enough. Like something is missing. So in the case of mental issues, something is missing from that standpoint. It is missing. Certain faculties like autism, yes, social communication, cognitive skills. There's a lot of things which are not really normal, like we assume. Like I can go up to someone and talk to them. Like you can't expect that from someone who has autism to do the same thing with them. You can't. You can't expect to have the same kind of conversation with someone who has, for example, schizophrenia. So I don't think even the expectation itself there is something wrong with the expectation, which is the root of the stigma. As mental health, professionals, as someone who works in the mental health field, I think this is something that needs to be addressed first. This stigma, why the stigma is bad, why it is bad for someone suffering with mental health. Number one, like I said, it makes it literally very hard for people around that person, say families, for example, to accept that there's something wrong, to seek professional help. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to, sink in that there's something which is not normal here, and something that needs to be addressed. It takes a while, and then there's a lot of time which is wasted. Let's go a little bit deeper into the stigma. I deal with lots of families. I deal with many families, and I have noticed that there is a collective guilt. It's almost like a guilt. If a couple has an autistic child, it's almost like they are guilty for that child being autistic. It's like it's like their shortcoming. it's like they chose their child to be autistic, which is obviously not the case. But you always get that feeling of, guilt, that, there's something wrong from our side, that we need to hide it. It's not good. It's not nice. We can't talk about it so much. We have to skim over it. We have to make excuses for our child. I get that every day. Every day I meet or speak to at least one set of family who try very hard to cover up or justify or give reasons for their child's behavior. When it's just a case of, mental disorder, it's just a case of addiction. But families try really hard to cover it up. Huh? So it has a lot to do with the stigma associated with mental disease. There's nothing wrong having a mental disease. I mean, if you have it, you have it. It's not like, nobody's ashamed to say they have diabetes. Nobody's ashamed to say that, my brother has diabetes. Oh, my son just got diagnosed with diabetes. But it's not the same when it comes to mental disease. It's not the same when it comes to autism. Why is that? I think perhaps, possibly, the answer lies the answer is very hidden. It's a hidden answer because you can't see mental disease. Most mental disorders you can't see. You can't make out that this person has a mental disease unless he starts interacting. Many autistic children also look completely normal. When you start interacting with them, you understand, yes, there's something is up here. Something is not normal. And it is exactly that which is a big obstacle in this profession. That because it's not very obvious. You don't see obvious scars, or you don't see something broken, or you can't see a discoloration, or you can't see your hair falling down in, bunches. That's I think one thing. What is the guilt? What is this family or group guilt phenomena, I would call it? And where does it come from? I have a few ideas. I mean, I'm not... these are my ideas, okay? So they're not written anyway. I have my own ideas about this. The group guilt or the group stigma phenomena. Why does the family of the person with this affliction, particularly, a mental affliction, why is the family stuck with the guilt? So the first thing that comes to my mind is it's not easy dealing with these people. It's not easy. With autism, it's like really hard. I mean, someone without training, it must be really difficult. I really, my heart goes out to, the parents who have autistic children. It's really difficult. Leading your life, working, managing the house and all the daily activities, and managing an autistic child. It is really a task. Because these people have been doing it, it's like a trauma, I think, in some ways. It's like a trauma dealing, even if it is your own child, the daily dealing with it, the daily difficulty is quite traumatic. And, that I think the trauma, when the trauma is projected, like, oh, my child, it's so difficult to deal with my child. And, now I'm like expecting people to deal with my child. how can I put them through this? That is one aspect of it. How can I, when I myself have so much difficulty dealing with this person, how can I expect somebody else to go through that? This is one aspect of the guilt phenomena. Second is, of course, genetic. It's, of course, more, many disorders have a genetic background, That's why we always check for family tree, like who else has problems, who else has mental issues, does it run in the family? There's a lot of this. So there is an aspect of genetic loading, so to speak, genetic loading. And this is another thing that leads to that guilt. They may think we have bad genes. I mean, yeah, maybe in prehistoric times, bad genes did matter. I don't think it matters so much nowadays. When there was no modern society, I'm sure like the species with the worst, any specimens with bad genes probably just died off, and like the survival of the fittest, like the superior specimens always kept surviving. That was okay. That was okay when like there were dinosaurs roaming around and stuff like that. But I don't think it's as valid today. Today, it's not. We don't go hunting with spears and swords. We don't have bows and arrows. We have very modern ways to live out our lives, and it's not how it used to be. So I don't think that phenomena is valid anymore. I don't think the phenomena of guilt due to bad genes. I mean, who can control that? I don't think it's in anyone's control to like control what genes are there inside ourselves. So this group guilt phenomena, yeah, the group guilt phenomena is the most telling aspect of the disgrace, the stigma. The stigma, it's very similar, I would say. This stigma is quite similar to, I don't know, class, the whole, racism, classism, Dalits, Ooch Neech. That's similar. You see similarity? Stigma, untouchable. Wow. This is a huge stigma. You can't drink from a well, you're like untouchable. Harijan. It's quite similar actually. No one chooses this. No one chooses to be autistic. No one chooses to have a mental disorder. But the structure of our society has given us lots of ideals, and there's always comparison to ideals. हमारा बच्चा बोर्ड में आना चाहिए, हमारे बच्चे को 90% ही मिलना चाहिए. So then we bash him and make him go to classes and like do all that, IIT training, blah 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 blah. 9th से लेके IIT training चालू होता है. I don't know. Strange, right? But that's what ideals do. So there are all these ideals for humans, how a person should be, what all the skills they should have. That doesn't really is not very inclusive. It is not very inclusive for the less fortunate. It is not really inclusive for those who are not in possession of the faculties that we don't even think about it. I mean, people like you and me probably don't even think about how we communicate, or it doesn't matter. I mean, we it's something we take for granted each and every day. But these people who actually suffer from all these things, for them, they don't even have this simplest of faculties to express themselves. Oh, I'm hungry. Even that's pretty tough for some people. For someone with uh, who's high on the spectrum, even that is tough to communicate. It's very tough. They are truly unfortunate, and our social structure have a needs to be inclusive of this. It is happening, actually. It is happening, but as with most things, it's never smooth. It's never the transition is always difficult. And though I can see that people are more accepting, people know more about mental health, people know more about autism, the the stigma is lessening, but it's still there. It's still there. It's not. We're not a very open society still, even today. It's very. I mean, it's quite easy for me even probably to sit here and talk about this like this, but it's a whole different ball game when it's happening right in front of you, and like it's someone from your house, and it's someone from your family, and it's really not the same. It's not the same. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on in the background. There's a lot of social expectation. There's a lot of covering up, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of shame, there's lots of it, and it does surface. It's like a collective shame. I don't know. It's like uh, it's like the whole discrimination thing happening in your own head. It's on a micro level. It's happening in my family. So there's a whole discrimination that is going on in my head. That is actually causing a loss to the person who's suffering. Actually, this is the biggest. The saddest thing of all this is the one to lose is the person who is actually suffering. Um, so how does that happen? How why do they lose out? Why do people suffering from these things lose out? Because of stigma. Let's talk about that. I think this differently abled. I think that's a very nice term. I really like that term, actually. Yeah. Although it's not perfect, but it's much better than disabled. Disabled always points towards, oh, this is the ability everyone should have. So this person is disabled. He doesn't have this ability. He's crippled. You know, that's what disabled means. But differently abled is like a much better version of disabled. Like it's a much far better, although it's not perfect, because the fact that we have to call them differently able already says that there's discrimination. It's very sad, but yeah, there it is. It is there. But like I said, there is progress. It is happening. It's only a matter of time until you know these things become more mainstream. The answers are more awareness. Number one, we need to be more aware of these things, because if we are not aware, then it leads to a lot of stigma. Yeah, we don't know. If nobody knows what autism is, we just look, oh, something strange up with this child, he's being really strange, maybe he's like this, that, maybe he's crippled, maybe there's something wrong with him. And there's the whole associated shame and guilt and stigma. So I think the first antidote to the stigma is awareness. Secondly, it is acceptance. It is being inclusive. As a society, I think we need to be more inclusive of all these people. They need to be part of society, not on the fringes of society. Like, having a association. Well, what raising the awareness. See, awareness always starts in pockets. We of the mental health fraternity, obviously we're going to be the first to know all these things, because we've studied it, we deal with it every day. So technically the onus lies with us, because we are the first line of defense against all these things. So actually the onus lies with us, and this what we are doing, I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing exposing this, letting people know that this is stigma. It's not your fault. It's not your fault if like there's something wrong with your child. It's not your fault. It's not the child's fault either. But yet something needs to be done. So the sooner you come out of it, there'll be lesser pain for your child. There'll be lesser pain for the family. There'll be lesser guilt. There'll be lesser shame. Things will turn up much better. But if the awareness level is raised. So the way these things go are like, awareness starts in pockets. So I think as the fraternity of mental health, we are the first line of defense. So we are going to be the first ones to be aware of this, and it is our job actually to spread this awareness in various different pockets until the general level of awareness goes up. If there are enough pockets everywhere who have this awareness, the general level of awareness is going to go up. Yeah, that's how it works. And it is programs like this that actually make it happen. More openness, when even it can be as simple as sharing what you know when the topic comes up. I grab every opportunity to talk about mental health. Strangely, I always get, wherever I go, people ask me about mental health. Oh, you work in mental health. Oh, this, that. What do you think about this? So I immediately grab those opportunities. I give them big, long lectures about what mental health is and what should be done. And in my own small way, maybe there is playing a small part in the level of awareness, because people don't really know, they don't really have the time. I don't think people have the time to sit and do some deep reading or deep study of things to understand things. I don't think nowadays people have the time. People need lots of ready-made stuff. McDonald's, they need a McDonald's burger. Oh, I want one, what do you call, Big Mac meal. Yeah, so that's my meal. Somebody's handed to me the meal on a platter, and I know this is my meal. Yeah, someone's given it. This is your meal. So that's fast food. That's how things are. But if this is the mentality now, so we as responsible people, I think we need to take this into our awareness, that this is the mentality and that is how we need to package it. We can't sit around expecting suddenly everyone to, change and become more aware. It is our responsibility actually to package it in such a way that they have useful bits and pieces of information everywhere. So that can be through all kinds of media. Media is like all over. So the more exposure a certain problem has, the smaller that problem becomes. Especially problems like these. The more they see the light of day, the lesser the problem will become. Because it'll be common knowledge. That's what I am expecting. That these things become common knowledge. Are we? Oh wow! It's half an hour. So I want to open the floor to any questions. Half an hour went by really fast, actually. Okay. So I the questions will come to me later. Meanwhile, I want to thank you all for joining me here, and again remind you that we are responsible. And the sooner we realize that we are responsible, this phenomena of stigma will disappear. It will disappear. But we need to take that responsibility, that it does, and take every chance to raise the level of awareness. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me. And thank you, Autism Connect. I really want to thank these guys to arrange this. And please look us up, by the way. My name is Rahul. We run a center called Positive Learning Space. You can look us up on Instagram and see what work we do in the field of mental health. And support, Google us. Yes. And please post any questions. Thank you, everyone.